to be in your bed. Do you know what it's like to be me? I feel like I'm taken, but I'm technically free. But you want it so bad, so you just keep on telling lies. Do you not see my pain when you...
All right, welcome back to Morning Coffee with Rick Alexander. If you guys want to connect with me, you could do so at Rick Alexander _ on Instagram or at Lionheart Radio. Now, admittedly, I haven't been updating those as much as maybe I used to or should be, considering it's my business. But man, I've kind of really fallen in love with life and just sort of this current growth path that I'm on. So, well, social media has taken a back seat. But for the most part, I like to think I keep those updated pretty regularly. I'm always trying to interact with you guys in the audience, and I'm always trying to sort of post thoughts about the show or maybe dissect a thought from a different angle and put it on there. Always original, always trying to provide as much value as I possibly can. I'd love to see you there. And of course, if you share the show with anybody in your audience, that means the world to me. And also just going on iTunes and giving us a 5-star review. So today what I wanted to do is I wanted to break down a pretty simple concept, and that is humans have a very finite emotional bandwidth. So in fact, we have a very finite bandwidth altogether. So, you know, one of the things that happens for driven people is that you want to do more and more and more. You're always looking for how you might be able to do more. The problem is when more becomes the credo that you live by, other than the hedonic treadmill and the fact that although once you get more, you're going to fall back to your relative level of happiness anyway, the other problem is that when never enough becomes the credo that you live your life, then the narrative that dictates your life becomes never good enough. And never good enough ends up being the lens that you see everything else in your life through. And that can be super detrimental when it comes to your psyche, because if you're always telling yourself you're never good enough, you're eventually going to believe it. And you might not be saying it on a conscious level, but when you have such a really high demand for excellence and you're always trying to control the outcomes of things, then never good enough becomes the internal monologue in your head. And here's the thing. Humans can only do a few things well. And I know we'd like to think not. And I think we look at all of the research and science behind productivity and that new movement, and we think like, oh, we can do more as long as I like tweak the systems and as long as I have the right habits and routines and hacks. And at the end of the day, you're still a human. Like 2,000 years ago, humans were still humans. We have more tools at our disposal, but those tools don't necessarily increase our emotional bandwidth. So when it comes to the actual quality of attention that you can give something and the quality of thought that you can give something in your life, there's actually very few things. And if you want to be really good at something in your life, then you kind of have to start eliminating what isn't serving that. And for me, I think it's worth it to power rank the things in your life, because there are certain things that you actually just cannot do without no matter what, again, because you are still human, like humans have always been humans. And so when you think about the amount of time that you have to dedicate to stuff, you have to actually pull back and you have to account for things that you don't get a choice in. So sleep is something that you don't get a choice in. That's going to take up a large portion of your life no matter what. And if you try to get around it, then the quality of your life will just be denigrated. You're not actually getting around it, though. Another thing is good quality food. Yeah, sure, you can get food faster, but the quality of your life is actually going to be denigrated. Another thing is relationships. You can certainly ignore a lot of relationships in your life in order to get where you want to get, but the quality of your life will be denigrated. So you should look at all of the things in your life that are non-movable, like sleep, food, relationships, time working on yourself for wellness and well-being. You can ignore all of your own internal needs as much as you want. You can serve everybody around you. You can do everything in your power to forget that you need certain things in your life. But at the end of the day, again, you are going to denigrate the quality of your life simply because you're trying to get around things that you need. So once we take relationships and we take food and we take sleep and we take ourselves into the equation, that leaves not a lot of room. And so think about this. If you have a mason jar and you put in the sleep thing, right? And that's a whole bunch of cotton balls. And then you put in, man, this analogy is going to go south quick. But then you put in the food cotton balls, and then you put in all the self cotton balls that you need. And then you put in the relationships in order to focus on sustaining healthy relationships, the ones that really matter to you in your life and make your life better. How much in that mason jar, how much room is left? Well, then what we do is we try to take hobbies and careers and growth and all of the things that we might be trying, all of the projects that we might be trying to take on, and we start stuffing them into that same mason jar. The reality is the mason jar is only so big because we have only so much emotional capacity, and so things are going to start coming out of the top. The reason I use cotton balls is because they can be suppressed. So you can push them down further, you can kind of pack stuff in there, but it's going to denigrate the quality of your life. There's going to be no room for oxygen. There's going to be no room to breathe. And eventually, things are just going to start coming out of the top. And those things that come out of the top might be hobbies, they might be sleep, might be good food. To think about yourself and the amount of bandwidth that you actually have is super important, because you should think about the things that really matter to your life. You should give your finite amount of attention to those, and you should work on sort of eliminating the other things. And a lot of times what I find is that the other things are things that we think would be really cool, but things that don't actually matter that much to us. So maybe like having fancy titles in your career, or being looked at in a certain way, or maybe an accomplishment that you don't really love the craft, but you just want the accomplishment. You want to be the person that did that thing. And so I think taking all of the things in your life and really ranking them by priority will help you to figure out which ones you need to get rid of. And you can ignore this, like I said, for as long as you want, but things are going to start popping out of the top. There's going to be no room to breathe. It's going to get real suffocated in your life because you only have so much emotional bandwidth. You only have so much time and attention to give the things in your life. And this has been a really hard realization for me because I'm the person that always wants more. But never enough becomes never good enough. Our jar becomes so full, we never have room to breathe, and we're always losing things out of the damn top. At least that's been the story in my life. And so what I've really come to the realization of, like, we can only focus on so many things and be good at so many things. It's better to rank those things and to really start increasing the quality of those things. And look, I have ADD like crazy. So I'm telling you, I understand the need to put more things in there. But it's always going to be to your detriment. When the reality is, like, I think that if you just look at the things in your life that deserve your time and attention and start really trying to foster those, nurturing those relationships, giving yourself the amount of sleep that you need, the whole real food that you need, the quality of your life is going to be increased exponentially. We couldn't even talk about the increase because we don't even know how much performance in life we're leaving on the table by just trying to live by the credo of more is better. And so my question for you today would be to root through your own life and ask yourself, what is it that you are giving attention that doesn't deserve it? What are you trying to force into your life that at the end of the day is really about the accolade or really about the title? And it's not about enhancing the quality of your life. It's just about making yourself look better to the people around you. If you're really driven, I think you can probably look through your life and find 2 or 3 things that are getting more attention than they really deserve. And it's probably coming from ego and not your true self. And so I would just say to root through those things and start taking cotton balls out of the jar. Give yourself some room to breathe. I don't know if that analogy was garbage or not, but it made sense to me. I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow on Morning Coffee.
Brian told me sometime long ago that it fades when you're doing the same thing, pursuing the same dream. I gotta tell him, yeah, I know sometimes this life seems too loud, your ears ring too proud, these girls scream, but he knows all that we ain't no breaks in the wall. Shit, we can't laugh no more without the alcohol. And then I see my baby with the smile so bright. I can't live this world without her beautiful light. I can't live this world without fighting my fight. But I can't stop my bike, so I just dream every night. A thing that asks me to please pass the rum. I know the future's calling, best is yet to come. My baby asked me to please pass up the rum. I know the best is yet to come. I know the best is yet to come. So please, please don't you die on me. The trees, these, they got roots underneath. Time for everybody to make their own peace. So reap what you sow, so on my knees. I'm just like, easy's gotta be easy today. Got so much more that I've been wanting to say. You knew we miss our brothers, but you took them away. So only got time to play. For only had more time to pray. Remember that night on the sacred grave when with a cold beer, y'all. I feel you, Brian, we ain't no bricks in the wall. Simply can't laugh no more without the alcohol. And then I see my baby with the smile so bright. I can't live this world without her beautiful eye. I can't leave this world without fighting my fight. But I can't stop my plight, so I just dream every night. The thing that asks me to please pass the wrong. I know the future's gone and best is yet to come. My baby asks me to please pass the wrong. I know the best is yet to come. I know the best is yet to come. So please, please don't you die on me. The trees, these, they got roots underneath. Time for everybody to make their own peace and reap what you sow. So on my knees, I'm just like, easy's gotta be easy today. Got so much more that I've been wanting to say. You knew we miss our brothers, but you took them away. So only got time to play, but only had more time to pray.